Hi, I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. Okay, guys. So we're going to talk about an old passion of mine. Started when I was 13. This is going to be both me explaining my relationship with Dungeons and Dragons in a very early 2024, and where I plan to go in 2024 with Dungeons and Dragons. This is a little bit different than the content I've been making for about the last year or so. This channel was originally designed around three things. This was one of the main pillars of the channel. So this is not outside of what the channel was designed to be, but it is a bit different. Now I'm holding my mic. It's literally in my little Yeti stand here. So you have to excuse me while I try and get everything ready. I'm still doing some adjustment to the window, the window into my life, shall we say? No, my camera setup and everything. So currently, you're looking at like a 45-degree angle to the back of my room. You can see I got my old filing cabinet here, literally from the '60s. In many ways, I'd be considered a grognard. I played battle games for a long time. But let's get into this, shall we? So, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 1988. Yes. 88, 89. The first books I ever bought for myself were actually the brand new books that came out, and that was the AD&D second edition of the rules. But technically, we played before that. We never played basic or expert. Being very young, barely teenagers, we saw the basic and expert or those titles and thought, we're adults. We should be playing the grown-up version. We don't want to play the kid version. That's silly. What's kind of ironic about that, I spent the last 2.5 years actually playing the basic edition from the Mulvey set in 1981. Which would have been perfect for me to play back then and would have been way easier to understand what was going on versus the advanced Dungeons and Dragons that I ended up playing and loving. The thing that sparked the passion of me. Now, the true edition that I feel like I really got the full grasp of the rules and really played it well was third edition. Let me show you those books. So, in this version of the book rules, I was older. So, I was able to afford a little bit more. I ended up buying the limited edition books. You can see right here, I've got all three of them. These are numbered. These were not the first books I bought. These were the seconds. The first one, of course, was D&D 3. Then 3.5 came out, and I ended up buying these books. And there's a little addendum that you'd have that would catch you up on all the rules that were just, that far off. And I played that one for a very, very long time. It would have been cut short, but we had an issue. So the second set of books I bought, as far as edition books went, was ye old fourth edition. As you can see here, I've got two of the three books of the limited edition. Again, numbered. These were way more expensive than the black ones. And were very cool. The inside had a lot of holograms. The outside are very hologram-like. The problem with this edition of the game is, in my opinion, it really wasn't D&D. It's a great game, just not D&D. It's not 3.5. It's not second. It was just different. I think if they made it into its own thing, I think even now there'd be a lot of people that really enjoyed it. Now, let me go into the current edition-ish of what we have. So I stuck with the current edition until I went back to BX and really learned and started to have a love and appreciation for the old stuff. Like I said, I've been playing my BX campaign for 2.5 years, but I did still continue to buy 5e books. I bought, again, for whatever reason, the limited edition. Maybe I should just stop buying the limited editions. But this is the Spelljammer book. Now, why did I buy the Spelljammer book? Because I remember playing Spelljammer in second edition, the second edition of AD&D, and I really loved it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was intriguing. I'm much more into sci-fi and space fantasies and this type of stuff than when I was a kid. And I really wanted this box set to be that kind of good. I guess I'll have to make my own, is what that comes down to. I don't feel like it was, sadly. But let's go ahead and go back in time on a few things. But before we do, I'm going to talk a little bit about the types of videos you can expect to see in this series. I'm planning to do several a month. Some of these are going to be time synced. Some of these are going to come out in clusters. Some of these are going to be whatever. But this is the 50th year that Dungeons & Dragons came out. And I feel like this is the year to release history on each one of these editions, essentially. Not necessarily the settings. The settings are probably due in future years coming up. But this is a lot just in itself. Let me get into why I say that. First of all, we have what it turned into. Critical Role. They've come out with their own game. It's no longer even D&D. Probably worth a discussion to talk about that in the 50th anniversary, considering it's brand new. There are other versions of this game. Matt Colville has his own thing. I feel like that's worth discussing. I feel like talking about the various lawsuits that have come out over the years between Dave Arneson, Gary Gygax, TSR, Hasbro, probably Wizards of the Coast thrown in there, back to Hasbro, the OGL. All these things probably have a place this year to talk about within this series. And I will be doing videos on all of that. I'm currently... This book was out of place. I apologize. I'm currently reading this book. A Secret History of Dungeons & Dragons. Slaying the Dragon. This is a pretty good book. I haven't completely read it, but it'll be one of the first ones to come out, probably right after H.G. Wells' Little Wars, talking about some of the origins of Dungeons & Dragons. Not only am I going to be talking about that and probably doing some gameplay of the way H.G. Wells really saw his war game and how it inspired Dungeons & Dragons, but I'm probably going to be doing some dungeon, and I'll probably be doing some outdoor survival. This is an actual box set of outdoor survival. It's mostly complete, has the rules. That's going to be a lot of fun. Outdoor survival, for those who don't know, was a game that was considered to be part of the original box set. It was highly suggested that you have this Avalon Hill product to play with the old version of Dungeons & Dragons, or the original versions of Dungeons & Dragons. I also recommended doing Chainmail, and I don't have it in front of me, but I have a printed off copy of an official PDF for Chainmail 3rd edition, which was the edition that came out for Gary Gygax. Originally, it came out in 1972, so this is kind of what they were thinking about when they were doing these type of things. But I'm going to be traveling through time, and we're going to go back to AD&D 2nd edition. We're going to talk about some pretty odd stuff. Notice the CD-ROM, the old classic box set. This is literally a thing, and I have the CD-ROM for this AD&D 2nd edition product. We'll see if it still works. We'll see if we can still get some of the sound bites off it. I don't actually know. But it literally does have a CD-ROM, as you can see right here. We'll be talking about what some would argue be the best edition of the game. First edition, because I have several of the orange binding books. I have quite a few of these books from back in the day that I went back later in life and got. We'll even talk about some of the settings, but not all of them. This is the AD&D 1st edition Dragonlance books. I have the 2nd edition AD&D Ravenloft box set and books. We'll talk a little bit maybe about Birthright and Planescape and Spelljammer from AD&D 2nd edition. Depends on what time allows me to do. So if you have any interest in seeing some of these extra setting things in 2024 versus later years, let me know down in the comments exactly which ones you're wanting to see and that you appreciate me making videos on this, so I can go ahead and bring these out and represent these properly. I am, basically regardless to whatever anyone else thinks, going to be posting videos though on the original original Dungeon Dragon, excuse me. I'll be doing the Holmes revision and that from 1977, if I remember right. And then technically AD&D first edition came out in 1977 as well. Of course, I'll be doing BX in 1981. Probably do a follow-up video talking about some of the house rules I do after I do the BICME version, which came out in 1983. In 1989, you have AD&D second edition, and in the year 2000, you have third edition. Months after that, you had 3.5. Then in 2008, I believe it was fourth edition. In 2014, it was fifth edition. And technically, in 2024, I guess you have D&D Next, or whatever they're calling it these days. It's probably worth talking about that too. So yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll probably talk about some of the VTTs that have tried, failed, and are currently going to be re-released, and go down that road too. The first time I saw the D&D Next, as it was called, when they were in the pre-alpha, I was very excited, and I think I still have documentation in the PDFs of what that was back in early 2014, 2013 time era when this was a thing. So anyways, or no, I guess I don't know what year it was. It was a while back. I'd have to look. But I remember there was a failed VTT, and right now I can't think of when that was exactly. It was back in the D&D Next version before they had D&D and Beyond, which was technically a third-party thing that was bought by Hasbro. But anyways, I'm getting rambly, and this is why I edit these videos. So please like, subscribe, see you guys in the next video, and hit that bell if you want to follow this series. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.